Hey guys, I'm excited to walk you through one of my favorite books of all times, The Greatest Secret by Rhonda Burns. And I'm going to do this over the next few weeks, just because I think it is one of the greatest of all books. And if you want to follow along and get that book, I'd recommend it just because I think it's life-changing. And so this first message will cover the acknowledgement as well as chapter one. And I'll give you my take on some of these that hopefully make it easier for you to implement into your life. And basically, the summary of these two sections, in my words, would be you can be free from whatever you don't want, all the stress, the anxiety, the fear, um, problems can all be gone, and enjoy your true nature of happiness and effortless success and bliss, where just a thought in every atom in the universe moves to fulfill your thought. And I'm just going to quote before I get into this. Here's what you can expect as we go through this book over the next few weeks. And this is straight from the acknowledgement and chapter one itself, but I'll read this. It says, quote, with every step you take through this book, you'll become happier and your life will become more effortless, and that happiness and effortlessness will continue to increase without end. Any fear and any uncertainty of the future will no longer plague you. Sounds good so far, doesn't it? Any anxiety and stress about your daily struggles or the world events will dissolve. Boy, do we need that in today's world. You can be free of every form of suffering that you might be experiencing right now. And here's the good news, and you will be, because it's pretty simple. Because the love of God, the life of all creation, whatever you want to call it, would never make it difficult. Nobody struggles to become who they are, except for us for some reason, humanity. Birds don't struggle to be birds. Tulips don't struggle to be tulips. Um, we are divine and are unlimited beings, and we've just covered it up with untruths. And what I love about this book, it allow you to release some of those untruths and effortlessly become who you've always been, which is the presence of God, the presence of life, the presence of all creation itself, eternal. And so the secret showed you how to create anything you want to do, be, or have. Nothing has changed, meaning you can have a life exactly how you want it. And that is as true today as it ever was. This book reveals the greatest discovery a human being could ever make, which is why it's called The Greatest Secret, and shows you the way out of negativity, problems, and what you don't want to a life of permanent happiness and bliss. This is your life with the greatest secret. This is your destiny. So here we go. Enjoy the message. So I'm going to start. And some of you guys know um, I've used this book so often that the whole thing completely fell apart. And I actually took a drill press and drilled right through it and put rings in it, but even that's starting to fall apart. So I thought this would be good. I actually have a brand new copy that I've had as long as I've had the other book. Once it started, the internals started falling apart and the whole thing actually came out. But I thought, you know what, this would be fresh. I loved that because it has all my notes in it, my own writings, my highlights. But this is fresh, so I'm going to go. What hits me as I go through this book again? And so I'm just going to walk you through this. What I think is really striking, and it doesn't have to be exactly the same for you, and it probably won't be because we're all having different experiences through different lenses called you. I'm having this experience of being divine, of being the presence of God in itself, um, as this human being that my parents named me as Mike Popovich. And so, anyway, here's what's really interesting. Starts off in the beginning, and she talks about how after The Secret, she wrote The Secret, which was a huge international success. She goes, most of the time I was pretty happy. I had health, I had relationships and finances, yet something was missing. And so here's what's really interesting is you can have everything that looks good on the outside and still not have the truth, still not be totally happy because you haven't found the truth yet. And she says, despite all that, something inside me continued to urge me on to seek more of the truth. Something propelled me to continue my search, though for what I didn't yet know. What I love about the greatest secret, as she says, the greatest secret or the secret, she could create anything she want. What do you call it? Manifestation. Um, the world just mirrors your thoughts and your emotions, which is all true. Yet that's not really what we're all after. That's natural, actually. The truth is to really unveil who you really are, which is the greatest secret, which is, don't want to spoil it, but you're the presence of eternity, the life of all creation in this human body. The some of the religious texts call it the tabernacle or the house of God. You're the skin tent that houses the presence of God, which is pretty exciting. And so the great news, I think, is you can have all those things and know who you are and have eternal happiness. And so she talks like this. She says, 10 years after my search began, in early January of 2016, a challenging situation arose in my life that caused me to feel deep disappointment. I was surprised at the depth of negative emotion that I felt. How could I feel so bad when I usually felt so good? But but that disappointing situation was to become the greatest gift to my search for truth. Here's what's really interesting. If you're ever going through something that feels uncomfortable, um, the tendency is to make you cause you to have fear, to cause you to have anxiousness, anxiety. All of that, I promise you, is just coming up so you can finally be free from it. It really is a gift. It doesn't feel like it as we're going through it, but once you recognize, oh, that's coming up right now for my benefit to bring me to the truth of who I've always been. And as soon as I'm free from this, when I learn how to let go of everything that's not true about me, the truth about me, which is the presence of God and effortlessness and complete happiness, all the time, naturally just starts to flow. And Lester Levinson talks about, and happiness is free. He says it's kind of like this: is once you let go the logs of the dam, the true flow of life naturally happens, and the logs of the dam are just incorrect beliefs and thoughts that you've experienced since you were a little kid and you started just believing them. And so she says she was talking about how she discovered this truth watching a podcast with David Bingham, and says he was just a normal person like you and me, but after 20 years of searching, he had discovered the truth. And she says, this truth is so easy, not because it's difficult. And I love that. It's because you don't have to become a guru. You don't have to be um, enlightened. A lot of the things that people talk about, you already are all those things. It's really, you are the presence of God, the the perfect human being covered up with ideas that you're not those things. And so it's really about letting go of the things that are not true, and what's true about you naturally flow, which is why it's called effortlessness. And so, as she says, the most people overlook the discovery not because it's difficult, not because God or love would make it difficult. That's not how it works. I always put it into human context. If I loved my wife, if I loved my kids, would I make it difficult for them to experience my love for them? Not if I'm a good dad. And so life is the same way, in my opinion. And then she says, and suddenly I saw what I had been searching for. It was so simple. It was right here. Just like that, happiness and joy that I felt from that discovery was worth every second of this journey. Even if it had taken me my entire life to discover, it would have been worth it. Here's what's really cool. You don't have to take your entire life. You can do it right here, right now. And what you're going to find is what everybody's looking for, whether they realize it or not. She says, my hope is to show you the way out of those experiencing hardship, to help end the pain and suffering that so many are enduring, and to shine a light to a future where you can live without anxiety or fear. This is what I quoted earlier. With every step you take through this book, you'll become happier, your life will become more effortless, and that happiness and effortlessness will continue to increase without end. Any fear and uncertainty of the future will no longer plague you. Any anxiety and stress about your daily struggles or world events will dissolve. You can be free of every form of suffering that you might be experiencing, and you will be. That's the good news. The Secret, which was the previous book, showed you how to create anything you want to be, do, or have. Nothing's changed. It is as true today as it ever was. This book reveals the greatest discovery a human being can ever make, and it shows you the way out of negativity, problems, and what you don't want to a life of permanent happiness and bliss. And starting in chapter 1, she says, hidden in plain sight. Basically, um, uh, it's within. It's your true nature. It's the eternal part of you. It's the life of God part of you, the life of all creation part of you. Uh, whatever word you want to choose. You might think you know who you are, but if you think you're an individual person with a name, with a certain age, from a particular race, who has a profession, a family history, and various life experiences, you'll be stunned by the revelation of who you are. So We've all accepted many false ideas and beliefs throughout our lives, and those false ideas and beliefs have kept us enslaved. We've been told that there's limitation and lack in the world, that there's not enough money, time, resources, love, or health. Life is short. You're only human. You have to work hard and struggle to get somewhere. We're running out of resources. The world is in turmoil. The world needs saving. But the moment you see the truth, those myth truths crumble and your happiness will arise from the ruins. You can live your life utterly free. This is what everybody's looking for. You can live your life utterly free of hurt, upset, worry, and fear and exist in continuous happiness. Every experience in life is showing us there's a way out of suffering through every single challenging circumstance we experience. Emphasis here, especially the very challenging circumstances. So most people try to avoid those challenging circumstances versus, hey, this challenging circumstance is coming up for my benefit so I can be free from this forever and learn my limitlessness, learn who I really am, and discover that. The truth is, you're not a person who has no control over what happens in your life. You're not a person who has to slave at a job you don't like, only to die at the end of it. You're not a person who has to struggle from paycheck to paycheck. You're not a person who needs to prove yourself or needs anyone else's approval. The truth is, you're not really a person at all. You are most certainly having the experience of being a person. This is really interesting, as you are the presence of God, the life force of all creation, the unlimited presence of God, the unlimited being. Like again, this isn't meant to be a religious conversation because this affects all humanity. We're all the same, and so you were born in perfection. You're going to live in perfection, and you're going to step out of this bodysuit in perfection. Everything else is not true. It's an untruth about your life that you've accepted, and your subconscious is saying, "This feels so real. This feels so truthful." But when you get beyond it, you kind of go, "It's hard for me to believe I even believed those things before," because you're such a different person. You've really come to go, "Oh my gosh, I realize that I've been perfected in God's highest creation from day one," which I believe is true. And so the only purpose of being here on this earth is to learn or to re-remember, meaning you were born in perfection and then covered it up with thoughts. We're so powerful that when we cover it up with thoughts that were not perfect, we feel and our life seems to become imperfect. The truth is, the spirit of you, the eternal part of you, is always perfect. It always will be. So the only real purpose of being here on this earth is to learn to re-remember our original nature, natural state of no limitations, meaning you're free. You can do what you want, when you want, at all times, and be totally happy. And you have a mere thought, and every atom in the universe moves to fulfill your thought when you removed all the negative limitations that you've believed. Because it's such a concentrated thought. When you have that thought, it just becomes because you've discovered who you are. And so in this chapter, a subsection is in all large print, what will life be like as you go through this? I'm talking about something that hardly anyone has yet experienced. How can I describe it? No limits on anything in any direction whatsoever, meaning you can do anything. The ability to do anything for the mere thought of it, meaning that sounds fun. And know that all life begins to respond to you and bring you that very thing in effortlessness, just because that's who you are. And if you really get this, does the existence of life struggle? Does the existence of God, of the creation of all things, actually struggle? And to me, if you've ever heard me teach before, I came up in a very Dutch community. My mother was 100% Dutch, and so we had big tulip festivals. And I would always marvel, even to this day, that you could take a tulip bulb. It looks like this dry, brown, dead bulb. And somehow the secret of God, the secret of creation, all of life is in that tulip bulb, where when you planted it, somehow there was life in there that knew how to create these beautiful green stems and these beautiful green leaves. And all of a sudden, all these petals and beautiful colored tulips. And even more intriguing was it has a pistil and stamen that self-pollinates and creates more. So that seed not only brings a perfect tulip, it has the life creation and the intelligence in it to self-pollinate and create more beautiful tulips, meaning life without end. And that's really all of us, guys. The spirit of life is in us, and it's always eternal. And so it says, yet it's more than that. Imagine the highest joy you can have and multiplied by 100. So when I teach, that's what I always teach. I go, it's just 1,000 times better than what we've been taught. And so we'll finish with this. When you fully recognize who you are, life becomes effortless, meaning all of those untruths. Life is hard. Money doesn't grow on trees. If you eat this, it causes X. All of those are untruths. The real you can't be affected by anything. It's limitless. When you fully recognize who you are, life becomes effortless. Everything you need seems to appear without any effort from you. There's an ease and the flow that take over your life. A life of lack and limitation is over forever. You come to know the ultimate power you have over everything in the world. And she ends, this is your life with the greatest secret. This is your destiny. So excited to keep sharing with you guys. And I would just really encourage you to walk through this as I'm not doing this for fun. I want people to actually experience all those things where you can truly be free from suffering and just enter into this life where it's happy all the time and it's really effortless because that's who you really are. That's the true nature.